Hey everyone, it's Lisa Mears here, and today I'll be showing you the Stamps of Life Club products for August of 2023, and I'm also going to be showing you my design process for the cards that I made with these products. And this month there is an old-fashioned pickup truck as the theme. This set is called TailGate2Stamp, and it is so versatile. You can use it for your fall cards, you can put pumpkins in the back of the truck, you can also use it for winter cards and put a Christmas tree or presents in the back of the truck. It also works for Valentine's Day and birthday. You can add presents with some balloons in the back for birthday cards. And the sentiments on this stamp set fit perfectly on the back of that truck, and the smaller sentiments will fit inside of the license plate. So some of the sentiments included are wishing you loads of, and then you can say birthday wishes, happiness, fun, success, luck, love. There's also a for you, hooray, hello, thanks, and happy fall. And you can see that this stamp set also includes some pumpkins as well as some fall leaves. So if you're in the Stamp Club, you'll get the TailGate2Stamp stamp set, and if you're in the Die Hard Club, you'll also get the coordinating dies to match the stamps. And this month, the Stamps of Life threw in a freebie die. This die says wow, and it also has the shadow. So that is a little freebie to go with your club products. So my favorite club of all is the Card Kit Club, where you get a box filled with lots of goodies to make several cards. And this month's card kit is called Fall Greetings. And here's a look at the idea card. It has some sample cards that you can make using some of the products in the kit. So let's look at all of these products up close. With every card kit, you get some A2 size envelopes for your cards, and then you also get a clear plastic storage envelope that will fit your cardstock. You can also store your club contents in that envelope. The colors of the 8.5 by 11 cardstock sheets include red, so this is the Stamps of Life strawberry cardstock. There are two of those. You also get the yellow, which is the sunshine cardstock. There's also two blues. This is the sky cardstock. There's a green, which is grass cardstock. There are two browns, and that is the twig cardstock from the Stamps of Life. And then you get four white pieces of cardstock, and that is the powdered sugar cardstock. The paper pad for this card kit is called Fall Greetings, and let's go ahead and flip through it. You can see that old-fashioned pickup truck there on that first piece, and there are several patterns that have this fall leaf design. So there's a red fall leaf, and then we also have several sheets that have the pickup truck that you can use your dies to cut out of the pattern paper pad. Also have some pumpkins and some leaves. Now the sunflowers and the squash that you see there, now those can be die cut using the More TailGate2Stamp dies, which are sold separately. So you'll get 4 total sheets in the paper pad that have those die cut images that are so easy because you can just die cut them out and they're already colored for you. So as I flip through here, you'll see all of the different color leaves that are included. So you have some blue leaves and green leaves, and then there were also some pumpkins and sunflowers. Here are some smaller pickup trucks. There we have a yellow orange color leaves. We have the word fall. There's some more blue leaves and some more pumpkins. And if you needed more pumpkins, you can always use your scissors and fussy cut those out of your cardstock. Same thing with the sunflowers. You can fussy cut them out as well. There's also a few of the buffalo plaid patterns. There's one in blue and one in the yellow-orange color. And then we start back at the beginning, so you get 2 sheets of each one. You also get these felt sunflowers. They have a little gem in the middle. There's also some enamel dots. There's 3 different sizes on that sheet in 3 different colors, yellow, blue, and red. There's also some banner stickers that have several different types of sentiments on them, from birthday to fall to Halloween. And there's thank you sentiments, and those are just stickers that you can peel off and stick onto your cards. And here's some puffy stickers. They're pumpkins, leaves, and sunflower puffy stickers. And here is a word die that says Fall Greetings. And the font is the same font as the word fall in your paper pad. You also get some red ribbon, and this ribbon is quite unique. I've never seen any ribbon in the card kits look like this before. This actually has some fringe on the edges, so you can see this if I bring this a little bit closer. You can see the fringed edges. And also included in the card kit is an A1 Circle Flip It card die set. And this is an A1 size card die set, which makes a note card size, so it's roughly 3.5 by 5 inches for your card. There are some other dies included, such as leaves, a pumpkin, and the word fun. You can see what the word fun looks like here on the front. And the word fall is from the word die that was included in the kit. So that's everything that's included in the Stamps of Life August card kit, and I will have links to all of their clubs in the description box of this video, as well as on my blog at lisamearsdesigns.com. That way, if you're interested in joining the club or even upgrading your membership, you can use my links, and I always appreciate when you do click on my links because it does help support me. Also, by using my link, you'll get 500 bonus club points to spend in the Stamps of Life store. So let's go ahead and make some cards. I'm going to start out by taking a couple of these sheets with the colored images from the paper pad, and I'm going to use the coordinating dies from the Die Hard Club and die cut these images. So I'm going to use the large truck shadow die, and I'm going to tape that die down to the paper so it doesn't move when it goes through my die cutting machine. I'm also going to use the leaf dies and die cut those images, and I'm also going to use the pumpkin dies and die cut the pumpkins. I am going to be using the solid dies rather than the dies that have the lines on them, because the solid dies will just cut out the shape, whereas the dies with the lines on them, it will actually cut lines into the cardstock. And since these images are already colored for me, I don't need those lines. Now, if I was die cutting just solid cardstock, maybe some orange cardstock, I definitely would want those lines included so that I can add some ink to the inside edges of the pumpkin to add more depth to the die cut. Okay, so here are some of the die cut images, and I want to just show you that this is the scrap paper that I used to die cut those images, and you can see there's leaves on this back side of the paper, and if you use your leaf die, it will die cut those leaves out of this scrap piece so that you can use those on your cards. So this is what it looks like. Although I'm not going to be using that one, I do want to show you not throw that paper away if you want to die cut those leaves. So for my first card, I decided to use a card sketch, and the card sketch that I'm going to be using is the one shown here. It's MFTWSC57. It's a My Favorite Things card sketch, and you can find these card sketches on Pinterest if you just do a search for card sketches. So I cut a piece of the blue cardstock to 4¼ by 5½ inches, and I am just measuring to find the center of that cardstock. And then I'm going to take that piece and I'm going to place it in the rectangle shown on my self-healing mat. Now that rectangle is the size of an A2 size card layer. So that's the exact size of the blue cardstock that I cut. And all of those grid lines that are on that self-healing mat are just going to help guide me so that I know where I'm placing my pattern paper. So I'm going to take this pattern paper and I'm actually going to put the bottom right edge of that pattern paper so that it is at that center line. So I'm going to put some glue on the back and I'm going to line the bottom straight edge of that pattern paper so that it intersects at the top left-hand corner of the solid blue cardstock, and then the bottom right corner of the pattern paper is actually lined up with the middle of my blue card panel. And then I'll press that down really well, and then I'll have all this extra pattern paper that is extending beyond that blue card panel. And I'm just going to take some of my long scissors and I'm going to trim that away. So I'm just going to trim right along the straight edge of the blue cardstock. And then I'm going to take my glue and just make sure that this corner is glued down firmly to the cardstock. Next, I'm going to do the same thing to the bottom of that card panel. So again, I'm just going to line it up in that rectangle on my self-healing mat. I'm going to place that pattern paper so that the top edge is just lined up with the bottom right diagonal corner of the solid blue cardstock. And the top left corner of that pattern paper is lined up at the center of my blue panel. And again, I'm just using that little mark and the lines on my grid to help me find that center. And using these measurements as a guide, it just makes it easy for me to know that I have the same amount of pattern paper on the top of that cardstock as I do on the bottom of that cardstock. So I'm just going to press that down and flip it over and use my scissors and trim away at that straight edge to get all of that excess pattern paper off of there. And then I'll just come back in with my glue and make sure all of those corners are glued down firmly to the blue cardstock. Now that mark that I added to the center with my pen, I'm not going to worry about it because I'm going to have my pickup truck and it's going to be right over top. So I'm not going to worry about that mark that's there. So I take my pickup truck die cut and I want to add some blue to the white window. And I'm just using a Zig Clean Color Real Brush pen, just adding some shading to the edges. And then I'm going to come back in and just extend those lines a little bit more, just to make it look like you can see to the outside sky through that back window. So the color of this marker is called light blue, and if you're unfamiliar with Zig markers, they are watercolor markers. However, you can't watercolor on this die cut because the paper that these were printed on is not watercolor paper. So that's why I did not use a water brush with this marker. So I go ahead and put my die cut of the truck in my Misti, and I'm lining up one of the sentiment stamps inside the license plate. The one I'm using says Happy Fall. You could also put thanks, hooray, or hello, or for you inside that license plate. And I just stamped it down with some black ink. So now I want to add some pumpkins to the back of the truck, so I am going to cut a line into this die cut so I could stick my pumpkins in there. So I'm just taking a craft knife and I'm just going down that line on the pickup truck with my craft knife, and that's going to cut a slit in the pickup truck so that I can stick my pumpkins inside. So I'm going to take the die cuts that I had from the pattern paper pad and I'm going to pop those pumpkins right in there. So I'm going to use two of the smaller ones, one larger one. The larger one I'll put in the middle, and I am going to also arrange some of the fall leaves around those die cuts as well. And once I have everything positioned where I want it, I'll put glue on the backs of all of those images, starting with the die cuts that are in back and then working my way forward. Next, I'll put glue on the back of the pickup truck and I'll add it to the center of my card layer. I'm going to take 3 of the medium-sized enamel dots in the red color and add 3 at the top right-hand corner of that card panel. And I'm also going to add 3 at the bottom left corner of that card panel. I'll finish up this card by just adding it to an A2 size card base. So the A2 size card base is the same size as the blue card layer. It's 4¼ by 5½ inches. and that will complete my first card. For my next card, I'm going to be using the sunflower pattern paper. I think that is so pretty. I love those colors. I think that's going to look really good with that twig or the brown piece of solid color cardstock. I'm also mixing in some other yellow and orange pieces of pattern paper. So the buffalo plaid piece, that I cut down to 4 1/8 by 1 1/2, and then the orange piece is 4 1/8 by 1, and I just added those to the bottom of the sunflower paper. The sunflower paper is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and then I added that to the twig cardstock, which I cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. Next, I'm using the dies from the TailGate2Stamp die set. I'm die cutting the back window out of white cardstock as well as the license plate die out of white cardstock. So this is another way of adding some color to those pieces without using markers to actually color your pickup truck a die cut piece. So here you can see I'm just taking a little finger blending brush and I'm adding some ink to the edges of the white cardstock that I die cut for the back window. So I'm just using a light blue ink. This is the sky blue ink from Scrapbookcom, and I'm adding it all around the edges. And I'm going to do the same thing with the license plate. So here I'm adding some yellow ink. This is the Lantern Light ink from Scrapbook.com. Just figured I'd use yellow and bring out some of the yellow that was in the pattern paper. Next, I'm going to glue those pieces to the pickup truck. So I'll add the license plate first, right over top of the license plate on the die cut, and I'll do the same thing with the window. So again, that's just another option if you wanted to add some color to your die cuts by using ink. I'm going to place that old-fashioned pickup truck in my Misti, and I'm going to stamp out the sentiment, only this time I'm going to use it in the large rectangle part of that pickup truck rather than just the license plate like I did in the previous card. So this sentiment says, "Wishing you loads of," that is one stamp, and I'll put that at the top, and then I'm going to use the word happiness and I'll put that at the bottom, and I'll stamp that down. But I'm also going to come in and add the word "for you." It just wouldn't look right without having something shown there on the license plate, so I'm going to put the words "for you" there. And I'm just stamping both of those out in black ink. I'm going to go ahead and add my pickup truck to my card. So I'll just put glue on the back and put it there towards the top of the card layer. And then I'm going to bring in some of the felt sunflowers. Now I started out by putting glue on the back and hoping that would work, but the glue was just soaking in to the felt and it wasn't sticking. So I decided to use some double-sided adhesive tape and tape it down that way. I normally would have taken out my glue gun and hot glued these on there, but my hot glue gun was not accessible at the time, so I used the double-sided adhesive tape, and that seemed to work okay. All right, so I also decided to bring in a small piece of the brown cardstock. I just cut a very thin strip and add it below the solid orange piece right above the buffalo check pattern paper. So that strip is 4 1/8 inch wide and maybe it's 1/8 inch thick. It's very thin strip. I don't even recall how thick it was. So then I added that to a A2 size card base, and that will complete this card. So for my next card, I'm going with another card sketch. This is a Sunday sketch SS022. Here's what it looks like. I am going to modify it slightly by not adding that banner underneath the circle. I am going to be using one of the banners from the sentiment stickers, but I'm going to add it in a different spot, actually below the circle, and you'll see that here shortly. Okay, so I went ahead and die cut some of the shapes that I want to use, and these die cut pieces are actually from the A1 size card base, the Flip It card base that's included in the kit. So I die cut the pumpkin, and I also die cut two of the leaves. The pumpkin I die cut out of some orange cardstock. I just went in my stash and took some orange cardstock and die cut that. You can also use the solid orange piece of pattern paper that's in the pattern paper pad. So when you die cut that pumpkin die, it does put those little slit lines in the pumpkin, and I took my orange ink and I made sure that I inked up the edges through all of those slit lines to add more depth to that pumpkin. And again, I'm using some more Scrapbookcom inks, and the ink that I am using is the orange spice ink. And then I die cut the leaves out of the grass cardstock, and I just added some of the guacamole ink to the edges and a little bit on top. I used the circle die that's included in that Flip It card die set. Now there's two circles, there's a larger one and a smaller one, and I used the larger one and I die cut some white cardstock. I'll go ahead and add glue to the back of the pumpkin, and I'll add it directly to the circle. And then I'm going to take the leaves, I'm going to tuck one leaf behind the pumpkin, and then the second leaf I will add in front of the pumpkin, but I'll tuck the stem behind it. And that just gives for a more dimensional look for your pumpkin. I have some pattern paper. I have the blue buffalo check pattern paper that I cut to 3 by 4 1/4, and the pumpkin pattern paper is 4 by 2. That buffalo check pattern paper, it looks purple on the screen, but it's actually blue in real life. So I'm adding these pieces of pattern paper directly to my A2 size white card base. And then the pumpkin is going to go at the top. I'm going to use one of these stickers, the banner stickers, and the one I'm using says "Sending you fall greetings." I stuck it to a piece of white cardstock, and then I'm just going to use my scissors to cut a little white edge around that. That will help it be seen better against the blue checkerboard pattern paper. So I'm just taking some little scissors here and cutting this fishtail edge and trying to make these sides even as best I can, and then I'll go ahead and put that sentiment right on top of that card. I'm going to add a few of the yellow enamel dots to the top of the card on the white area, and then I'll add one there at the bottom right corner of the pumpkin, and that's going to complete my card. For my next card, I want to use the A1 Circle Flip It card die set that's included with the kit. So with this die set, you can take that pumpkin die and you can put it on the front of your Flip It in the circle, like you see there on the idea card, or you can put the pumpkin on one of the side panels and add a sentiment to the center. But I wanted to do something a little bit different to give you another option from what you see here in the pictures. So I'm going to the paper pad and I'm going to pull out this sheet with the larger pickup trucks. There's also one that has smaller pickup trucks. And I'm going to fussy cut one of these trucks from the pattern paper. If you guys have been watching my videos for a while now, you know that I tend to go in these pattern paper pads quite often and fussy cut some of the images out of the paper pad to use on my cards. So this is no different. So I'm taking the larger pickup truck from the paper pad, just using my scissors and cutting this out. So now I have to have some pumpkins to put inside of this truck, so I'm going back to the paper pad and I'm going to fussy cut out some of the pumpkins. Now if you wanted to, you can also use these puffy stickers, but I didn't want all of that white edge around the sticker. But you can always just take the smaller ones and pop them right in there. But I kind of like the look of the pattern paper better, so I'm going to just cut out some of the smaller pumpkins on this sheet because they'll fit better in this truck. Now this bottom pumpkin here at the bottom of this pattern paper, I'm not worried about how it's not the entire pumpkin. It kind of has a flat edge. That's okay because that bottom edge is not going to be seen once I stick it in my pickup truck. So I'm just going to fussy cut around all of the rest. And I'll do this 3 times. So again, I'm going to take the smaller pumpkins because I think those fit better in this truck. So just like with my first card, I'm going to cut a slit down that horizontal line on the truck. And then I'll be able to stick those pumpkins right inside. And once I have them exactly how I want them, I will glue them down. So just like with the first card, I'm going to put this in my Misti, and sure enough, these smaller stamps, they actually fit inside the back of the pickup truck. They're not going to fit in a license plate because it's too small, but they will fit in the back of the truck. So I'm going to just stamp the word hello with some black ink. So there's my pickup truck, and I'll set that aside, and I'll go ahead and take out the A1 size card die set so that I can die cut these panels and the card base. So my card base is going to be yellow. So I'm going to just cut the cardstock down to size so it will fit easier in my die cutting machine. And then you remember this piece from card 1? I'm going to die cut the smaller panel from this blue leaf pattern paper, and then the larger panel I'll die cut the checkerboard plaid blue pattern paper. And to add more interest to these panels, I'm going to take out some blue ink. This is the Midnight Blue ink from Scrapbookcom. Just going to add some ink all around the edges. So I'm just using my scraps here because I wanted to get them used. But of course, if you can make your card whatever color you want using whatever pattern papers you want on your panels. So that smaller panel, the thinner panel, will be for the front panel of my card, and the larger panel will be for the back panel of the card. So I'll go ahead and glue those down to the yellow cardstock. And then I'm just going to fold at the 2 score lines, and the part of the card that has the leaves on it, that panel will be folded back to reveal the pattern paper. So I also need to die cut some circles. I have 2 circle dies, which I'm only going to be using one of the circles, and I die cut a piece of the blue cardstock. I'll add some ink around the edges of that circle as well, and then I'll glue that circle to the front circle portion of that card base. Now I also need to have a circle on the back side. You can leave it blank if you want to, but I want to add another circle there, so I did the same thing by die cutting a circle out of blue cardstock and inking the edges. Next, I'm going to add the pickup truck to the front center circle. And I want to bring out more of that red, so I'm going to take the red ribbon from the kit, and I want it to be positioned so that when the card is closed, you can see just the edge there of that ribbon. So I'm just going to use my scissors here and just snip off the ribbon or just cut it to size. I want it to span the length of that blue pattern paper. So I'm going to snip off a little bit there at the bottom, and then I'm going to put glue on the back side of the ribbon, and I'm going to add it to my card. So when I add it to the card, I want it to be right up against the yellow part of the cardstock so that when it's closed, it actually meets up with the yellow part of the cardstock, and that you don't see any of the pattern paper on the left edge. All you see is the red ribbon when the card is closed. Now I could stop there, but I'm going to bring in some of the sunflower puffy stickers, and I'm just going to add 4 of them to the right side of that card to the right of the red ribbon. So the circle on the inside, that's where you can write your message to your recipient, and this card is complete. So for my next card, I wanted to use the actual pickup truck stamp and I wanted to color it because the only choices in the paper pad are red pickup trucks, but well, I wanted to change up the color here, and I love making fall cards or even Christmas cards with these old-fashioned pickup trucks, and I love using the teal color. I think the teal color pickup truck is so pretty. So of course I had to make a card that is going to have a teal pickup truck. So I'm stamping out my truck stamp onto some Bristol smooth cardstock, and I'm also stamping out some of the pumpkins and leaves that are in this stamp set. I'm going to do some watercoloring. That's going to be the quickest for me. You can use whatever markers you want to use, whether it be Copics or watercolors or whatever you have on hand. But I'll be using the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers because it's just going to help me color this large stamp quickly. So as for the colors that I'm using, I will have them listed in the description box of this video. I'll also have them listed on my blog, so if you wanted to duplicate the coloring with these colors, you'll have the colors listed. So for the pickup truck, I'm using the Persian green and the turquoise green. So it's a darker teal green and a lighter teal green, and I'm going to color the entire pickup truck with those two colors. And I'm also going to be bringing in my Waterbrush and blending those colors out. So that's going to give me the shaded look. So you have the darker color on the edges and the lighter on the inside, and that's how you then can create the depth for your stamped images. So while you watch me color this image, I figured I'd tell you a little bit about what's been going on over here. My life has been super crazy busy. We packed up our entire house in Florida because we sold it, and we bought a brand new house in Georgia, so we're moving across states. I literally have been living out of boxes. We closed on our new house in Georgia last week, and I'm still not unpacked. I probably am not going to be unpacked for quite a while because it's just so much to do. And over the last month, I've been making these card videos for you guys with limited supplies on hand and with limited space. I was able to get my craft desk set up in our den so that I can make these videos, but I have boxes everywhere. So, and I don't even want to unpack them yet for my craft room because we actually bought a house with a basement, and it's an unfinished basement, and we are getting ready to finish it and make a craft room down in the basement for me. So I'm super excited for that. But in the meantime, that room is not even going to be finished for probably at least 2 more months. So I'll be working out of the den with all of my boxes, and yeah, it's just going to be quite the adventure. But it'll be a good adventure, and I have something to look forward to, and I cannot wait to do a new craft room tour video for you guys. I don't know when it's going to be, but I'm hoping maybe the end of this year, but I have no idea when it's going to be. But just be on the lookout for that, and I will be mentioning it and posting it down the road so that you guys will know. So despite all of the packing and moving over the summer, I did have a nice summer. I had all 3 of my kids home with me. My oldest son, he just finished his first year in college, but he went back today to move into his dorm for the new year. And if you all follow me on Facebook or Instagram, you probably saw back in May my daughter graduated from high school a year early at age 16, and I've been trying to get her ready for college. She's actually starting college here in September, so I've been trying to get her ready for that. She will be moving away, so that's going to be a hard one too, but she'll only be about 4 hours away, so it won't be too bad. And then my youngest son just turned 15, and I've been trying to get him registered with his new school here in Georgia, and that's been quite a lengthy task. So if any of you have moved across states or school districts, you all know what I'm talking about. But he's finally settled into his new school, and he's having a great time. Okay, so for my pumpkins, I did use my orange color and then used the water brush just to blend that out. I have 4 pumpkins all together, and then I have my leaves, which I'm coloring up in bright yellow and yellow. That's for the yellow leaf. And for the red, I am using carmine red, and for the green, I am using olive green. I'm going to be stamping out the wishing you loads of, and then I'm going to use the word fun to complete that line. And I'm also stamping out happy fall in the license plate. I'm going to use my craft knife to put a slit in that truck, and I'll go ahead and put all of my pumpkins in the truck. I didn't know if I was going to use just 3 pumpkins or all 4, so I started out by positioning 3 in the truck and putting the leaves all around, but then I decided to bring in that 4th pumpkin, and I'm going to go ahead and use it after all. So I'll go ahead and glue everything down, and I'll do that off camera. Now you can use this die cut on the front of a card, but I'm going to use this as a shaped card. So I'm going to take a piece of white cardstock, fold it in half, and I'm going to take the shadow die of the truck, and I'm going to position the top of the die so that it's just over the fold in my cardstock, and I'm going to tape the die down to my cardstock with a piece of washi tape. That way it doesn't move in my die cutting machine. So here's a closer look at the die. You can see that it's positioned slightly over the edge of the fold in the cardstock. So after running that through the die cut machine, I have my card base, and all I have to do is add glue to the back of the pickup truck and add it to the card base. Now you can also use this as a tag if you wanted to. You can pop a hole there in the top, put some ribbon, and make this a tag. So that is going to be my card. I love how this turned out. So once again, here are all the cards that I made with the Stamps of Life August 2023 card kit called Fall Greetings. I would love for you to leave me a comment and let me know which card is your favorite. And if you're interested in joining the club, remember there are links down in the description box below and on my blog. And I always appreciate when you use my links because it does help support me. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like videos like this, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel and turning on your bell notifications so that you'll be notified when I release new videos. Thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day. Bye-bye.